Hey everyone, welcome again to another episode of The Caffeinated Contractor. I'm Chris, your host, and today we have something special. We want to talk about home security and home safety. And for those of you who do not know my background, I'm actually prior military, 23 years military, and I was also a police officer for 10 years. First in Honolulu, then I did some time in San Diego. And so home security, safety, protecting yourself, those are things that are really near and dear to me. So with the recent events going on, especially here in Houston, what I wanted to do is bring someone on who is a specialist in this area so we could talk about what kind of things you can do in your house to help protect yourself from anything bad that could happen. So I want to welcome my guest, my friend Robert Webre. Robert Webre and I are friends, and we attend the same BNI chapter here in Cypress, Texas. So Robert, thanks for being on the show today.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, everyone in Cypress knows who you are. I think everyone in the greater Houston area knows who you are. But for those who maybe are living under a rock, can you tell us who Robert Webre is?
Sure. Yeah, I've been in the Houston area for 30 years. I grew up in New Orleans and worked for a retail company that moved me to Denver. In the late 80s, early 90s. And that's where I met my future wife. We worked for the same company. The company went out of business. We decided we wanted to live in Houston, and we moved here to be closer to family. And I've been here ever since. I tell people, I wasn't born a Houstonian, but I got here as quick as I could.
Yeah.
I've been here longer than I've been anywhere else in my life.
That's cool. So, just curious, what was the draw to Houston?
Oh, well, her family was here.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And then my family was still in New Orleans, so it was close enough.
Yeah.
We could go in and see family, but see her family, see my family. Houston was a little bit better city economy-wise.
Right. Yeah.
Especially in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans is a wonderful city, but economy was not very good, and still is not. So
yeah.
Right.
Awesome. So your background's retail. You don't do that anymore. Now you're into you own and operate Silverback self-defense. So what's Silverback all about?
Yeah. So I have been a salesperson all my life. Retail sales, office equipment sales. But my passion has always been martial arts. I started training in the mid 80s in martial arts because I was actually bullied as a child in school. That's what led me into martial arts. And I was fortunate enough to be in Houston in a good time, had an office equipment company, got to sell that company. And then I was able to start teaching martial arts full time.
Okay.
And so we've owned a traditional martial arts school. In fact, I was sharing with somebody the other day that 2024 is a big year anniversary wise for me in martial arts. It's 25 years of martial arts in Houston.
Oh, wow.
20 years as a black belt.
Dang.
15 years as a 4th degree black belt and 7 years as a 6th degree black belt.
Wow.
So it's a big milestone year, but I literally never, when I started training, I never thought I would be doing it full time, and the opportunity presented itself. So in this, like you said, in the Cypress area, we've been in business for 20 years. We teach traditional Taekwondo and Krav Maga and fitness kickboxing. And then about 7 years ago, we created Silverback Self-Defense, which is a mobile self-defense training company, where we go to our clients and teach self-defense training, hand-to-hand training, firearms training. And we have a whole line of non-lethal personal protection products.
Okay.
But, COVID is really where we became kind of more of the home safety specialist.
Okay.
You and I were talking before, COVID really changed our business.
Yeah.
Before COVID, 95% of our business was going into big companies and doing corporate self-defense training.
Okay.
And then obviously all of that shut down.
Right.
And because people were all at home and they were working from home, they still wanted to get training. So we started going to people's houses to do training. And that's still 25% of our business today.
Okay.
is people hire us to come to their homes to teach them how to defend themselves at home. Most people don't realize that your number one chance of being attacked by far is at home. It's the number one
Really?
place. Yes.
Interesting.
FBI report for last year of over 1 million crimes that happened, over 500,000 of them are at home.
Wow.
And so there's a long list of things that could happen, but it's your chances of having to defend yourself more than likely will be at home.
Wow.
So people realize that and they take advantage of our services because of that.
Yeah. Well, and that's a perfect segue into what we're talking about today, because we want to talk about like what kind of things we can do at home to help prepare ourselves for anything that could happen. And, just to kind of start off, let's talk general safety type things, just for any kind of natural disasters, fires, or anything like that. What kind of recommendations do you have for a family just to say, hey, have these things in line to be prepared in case something were to happen?
Sure. Yeah. Well, and the biggest thing is depending on, we talk about different stages of your life, young couples with young children, couples with teenagers, empty nesters, and then seniors. Each stage of life is going to be a little bit different about what we have to do and prepare for.
Right.
But the biggest thing is to have a plan and to know what that plan is and to have the conversation with who it is.
Right.
About what's going to happen. So here's an example. I took, unfortunately, for most people on Sunday, we had an active shooter here in Houston, Lakewood Church, which led me into a conversation. My wife and I were empty nesters, but we had a conversation. Hey, you know what? What if you're upstairs in church and I'm downstairs in church and I'm not there to protect you? Yep. What do you do in an active shooter?
Right.
And I made sure that no matter where she was in the church, she obviously knows with me, I'm going to protect her. But if she's not with me, what is she going to do should something happen? But at least, have that conversation to know what you're going to do. So here's an example. When our kids were young and at home, we talked about if they heard something in the middle of the night, they didn't leave their room until they got an all clear from me.
Okay.
Because if somebody's breaking into the house and I'm going to defend the house,
right,
I don't want to accidentally shoot one of my kids.
Exactly. Man, that's good. Okay.
But you mentioned something that I talk to people about all the time, which is fire. Having a plan of what to do in a worst case scenario if your house is on fire, and if you have kids, and talking to them about doing that and what to do. And then the other big thing is, and I don't know if you've ever seen this meme, you sleep with your doors closed because the door gives you a barrier from the fire.
Yep.
And allows you to have extra time to do whatever you're going to do.
Right.
And it can save your life seriously. And then if you have a 2-story and you're upstairs, or your kids are upstairs, having a way for them to have a ladder that attaches to the window for them to be able to get out of a window is a big deal. And the thing that people fail to do is to actually practice it.
I was going to ask you.
Before something happens.
Yeah. So I guess you answered it, like how important is it to actually role play and actually physically do these things?
Very, very. Yeah. Here you want to do it in a way that doesn't scare them.
Right.
But you want to do it in a way like almost like, hey, we're going to play a game today. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a little bit of an adventure, and we want you to do this because we want you to know what to do. Because I don't know about you. Have you ever climbed out? Now, you probably have climbed, being in the military, you probably climbed out of a lot of things, but have you ever climbed out of a second story window on a ladder?
I can't recall a time. No,
most people have not.
Yeah.
And so it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
And to be able to do it under pressure and stress, you need to make sure they do it more than once.
Exactly.
Have you ever had them crawl on the floor in the dark to find their way out to a door to get out of the house.
Yeah.
Without telling them why, especially age-wise. Now, obviously, if they're older,
Yeah.
having them understand, hey, if something's going on, you can't see. You have to be low to the ground,
Mm-hmm.
where you're under the smoke.
Right.
You can't see where you're going. You're not going to be walking, but it's having a plan
Mm-hmm.
to know, but actually practicing the plan.
Right. And then practicing gives them confidence, because if something were to happen, and I know this, and I'm sure you're the same, just the role playing in the police academy and going out into real life, like, I know it was role play, but I've experienced this before and I knew how to react because I've done it in a training environment. It gives you confidence. Okay, I can do this. Right. And the same thing with the kids.
Well, same thing in martial arts. I mean, we do the same things over and over and over.
Exactly.
Because if it ever happens, you want your reaction to be second nature.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest things people will always tell me, and it's always kind of funny, they go, you make that look really easy. Well, it really is, because I've done it so many times. It's not easy for you because you've never done it.
Right.
But I've done it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is much easier.
Exactly. Okay. So talk about the fire scenarios, climbing out of windows, low crawling in the house to stay away from smoke and fire. Let's talk about intruders.
Okay.
What kind of things? Well, let's just talk about, okay, we don't want it to happen. So what can we do to deter that from happening to our house?
Sure. So, making sure, number one, the biggest thing that you see is, making sure that you have, your doors are locked. Mm-hmm. And then something that I recommend every time I go to someone's house is that they also have, like a kickstand door stopper.
Yep.
Where, it's under the door, because for most people, if somebody's going to try to come in one of your doors, the standard doors are not going to stop somebody from coming in.
Yeah. So
you're giving yourself a little bit of extra time. Obviously, having an alarm, having it monitored, having it on, but also in today's age, and I think a lot of people today have cameras, which is great. I got to tell, it's not a deterrent anymore, because we're used to being filmed.
Yep.
We're on film all the time, but what it is it's evidence of what's happening.
Yeah.
Locking your car doors is a huge thing, because I don't know about you, but in our neighborhood, people are breaking in the cars.
Yeah.
And they just walk up. Breaking in is the wrong word, because they're just walking in, opening up doors.
Look for opportunities.
Yeah. And then not leaving your garage door opener in your vehicle.
Yeah.
So
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah. And so I share this story of, one of our instructors shared this with me, where a mom woke up, and it was in a really nice neighborhood here in Cyprus, to a man standing over her in bed who was not her husband in the middle of the night, because they had left their car door unlocked. They had left their garage door opener in their car, and they didn't lock their door from their garage to their house. So this guy opened up the car door, opened up the garage door, and walked into the house.
Wow.
Yeah. And that can happen that quickly, that something bad happens that fast. And so taking simple steps. Now, one of the things that I love is, I have a keypad door lock on my front door. Mm-hmm. So I can lock my door from my phone.
Yep.
And I can also look, hey, because going back to, I had to look to see if I locked the door, get out of bed, go walk to the front door. Now I can just look at my phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
See that the door is locked.
Right. Right.
Making sure my door is locked. And I have a deadbolt from my garage to my house to make sure my door is locked. Things like that. Something else for deterrent wise is I try to recommend that everybody have a Ring doorbell. It doesn't have to be Ring, but a doorbell that lets you see who's at the door.
Sure. Yeah.
because that gives you the ability to choose whether or not you want to answer the door.
Yeah. We use that a lot. I would say we answer the door maybe 2% of the time. Usually it's the neighborhood kids coming over to play with my son.
Right.
Outside of that, we don't.
Right. And there's a lot of times where it's somebody and I just go and I'm talking to them through my phone. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm on a call. Can't come to the door. Not interested. Thanks.
Right. Exactly.
And, or just not even bothering to answer at all. And, we get so many packages delivered to the house. I see every time the guy comes up to the door and drops stuff off. Mm-hmm. But, at least I know that they're there.
Right.
And I can make a decision on what I want to do.
Going back to the doors, and I could just testify to this because I've kicked in quite a few doors in my day.
I bet you have.
Yeah. So my front door, it's locked. I got the deadbolt and everything. I can kick that thing in pretty quickly. I mean, I've done it before many times. But the reinforced doors, like you were talking about, that takes a lot of time. Mm-hmm. I had to use one of those battering rams and break open a reinforced door. I tell you what, that took me 3 to 5 minutes of swinging that thing nonstop to get that door open.
And the whole idea is if you're the homeowner, you're going to hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to give you an opportunity to do whatever you're going to do. You're going to leave. You're going to defend yourself. You're going to call 911. You're going to gather your kids together, whatever you're going to do, but it's going to give you an opportunity to be prepared.
Exactly. And then if the intruder does make their way in, they're going to be so tired. I need a break. I'm tired.
Yeah. So, but and most of the time, if you watch bad guys, when they meet that type of resistance, they just give up.
Yeah, they go find an easier opportunity.
100%. 100%. They're not going to beat it. Different if you're a police officer and you have to get in.
Right.
Those guys who you watch them trying to kick a door, try to kick a door, 3 or 4 times, and then a lot of times it's 3 or 4 guys 3 or 4 times, and the door is not budging. They're just leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
what about lighting? What are your thoughts on lights?
I love the motion activated.
Yeah.
And in fact, I told my wife, we have one light outside and it's got a sensor. So it comes on at dark.
Okay.
And then it goes off at light.
Yep.
But they have these little screw in cameras that is a light bulb. Okay. And also a camera, and it actually screws in. I was just telling my wife the other day, I said, I want to get one of these where it's a light bulb, but it's also a camera, and it moves, and it can go in there. And so I'm curious to play with it and see how it works.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. And then, we have 3 lights in our backyard. We have one on each end of the house and then one in the middle for the backyard.
Okay.
So
yeah,
you want to be able to see for sure.
Any thoughts on sign, even though if you don't have a dog, a sign that says beware of the dog? I mean, does that help at all? I
don't believe so.
Okay.
And I don't really think even the dog in a lot of cases is really a deterrent if the person is really motivated to do what they're going to do.
Right. Yeah.
I will tell you, I think if you as a person walk up to my front door and my dog's on the other side of the door, it's going to make you think twice because she's ferocious. But once you get inside, she's just going to lick you to death.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, most people don't have a dog that's trained to defend them. They do most dogs sound really bad on one side, but once that person gets inside, they're not going to be, an attack dog.
Right. Yeah, when I was with the police department, whenever we saw those beware of dog signs, it didn't keep us from going. We weren't worried about the dog. We were just worried about stepping in dog crap. That was our biggest issue.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily know. And even I don't really believe that, people put security signs in their yard, like alarm companies.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think that's a deterrent really for anyone.
Not anymore. Maybe back in the day when it was first a thing, but not everyone's got one.
Right. And, I think if they're motivated to do what they're going to do, it's not going to stop them.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So let's talk about, let's just say they don't have any of that stuff. Somebody makes it in. Let's go into, we were talking before we started recording the difference between a safe room and a panic room. And you have a definition for both of those. So let's maybe kind of dig into those a bit.
Okay. Well, and again, this is just me. This is how I define the two.
Yeah.
So a safe room to me is a hardened area in the house with no windows, typically fairly small, really designed for weather.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously in most cases, in most people's homes, you want to have one reinforced area that your family can go to in case of worst case scenario for us would be a tornado.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, you're not going to have, even in Houston, you're not probably going to have a hurricane force winds in Houston close enough to us that, or storm surge or flood. That's going to be where it's going to destroy the house. So the real issue for us is tornadoes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, obviously enough studies been done that interior walls, no windows, that's where, you have your best chance to survive.
Right.
So if it's being something that's secondary, that's being added on, then, obviously it needs to be added on with that thought in mind, whether it's repurposing a closet or, putting something somewhere that's going to be for that. And then again, as long as it is understood and we do any type of practice at all of getting into it.
Yeah.
When there's not something going on.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, for me, obviously growing up for us, it was, we had a bathroom, I remember as a child, my parents putting me and my brother in a tub with a mattress over us.
Oh, wow.
Because we had more than one time had a tornado close to us, and we actually had a tornado come down our street to where the house across the street had a tree on top of it.
Oh my gosh.
And so I remember that distinctly. And that's kind of like what I have always told my kids. In my house, we have a center bathroom that it would be, of all the places in my house, it would be the safest.
Yeah.
Now, completely different would be a panic room.
Okay.
A panic room would be a room that you are preparing to stay in for some period of time because in my definition, someone's coming into the house.
Right.
Where then, you're going to have supplies, you're going to have water, you might have some food, you might have first aid, you have ventilation.
Yep.
It's vented. You might have a phone, a secondary phone.
Right.
You may have weapons. There's a lot of things in a panic room versus a safe room, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we're actually, we're building a house in Tomball, and the lady, she designed everything herself. It's pretty impressive. She knows what she wants. And so it's good. It makes my job easier because then I don't have to just wonder what she wants. Right. So, she drew it out, and she has, a safe room in there specifically for tornadoes, like what you were saying. But the way we're building it is that it's going to be reinforced with rebar and connected into the foundation itself, right? The way it's supposed to be for a tornado. It's going to have a FEMA rated door on it. It's going to have ventilation on it, and it's going to be her pantry. So she can actually use it as her panic room too, right? So if you're building a house and if something like that's important to you, just know that there's certain guidelines that you can follow to make sure that it is actually a legit safe room / panic room that you could use.
Well, and again, you got to make sure as long as again, these are just my definitions, but like
sure.
you say, as long as you're building it with the definition of what it's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
then you follow the guidelines, because to me, they're completely different.
Yeah.
A safe room, I'm not staying in past once the storm's gone, assuming that I can get out of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
A panic room, I'm thinking I may be staying in there for a little bit until help arrives.
Exactly. Until a SWAT team comes and lets you out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then then it becomes space too, because if it's a family of four,
Yeah.
they got to all fit, and if it's a family of four that's going to stay in there for a while, then you may need a little bit more space. But like you said, because she's designing it ahead of time, it makes life a whole lot easier.
Oh yeah.
Than trying to come back and retrofit something.
Exactly.
And I don't know much, but we're not building basements in Houston, so you're not digging under the ground and put in extra rooms.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So. Exactly. Excuse me. All right. So we talked about general safety. We talked about intruders coming in, how to deter them. We talked about if they were to make entry, things that we could do. So let's go into something. I mean, it's not really construction related, but it's important, and it could be part of a scope of work for a closet remodel or something. But let's talk about gun safety and gun safes. So I'm sure you probably talk about this quite a bit.
Just a little bit.
So what's your general go-to when you talk about gun safes?
Yeah. So again, let's go back to, I always start off with ages and stages.
Mm-hmm.
It's my very first conversation. My stage is different than your stage,
right.
is different than someone else's stage. So that's always the first conversations. Where are you at ages and stages? And second of all, then if you have kids, where are you with your kids? Because my children are all adults.
Right.
So it's a completely different conversation than when I had kids at home, but I have grandkids now who come over. So, and then it goes back to, once you talk ages and stages, then you have to have a plan.
Right.
Then you have to execute the plan. And it's going to depend on what you have, and not everybody is the same. So, you have basic pistol. Mm-hmm. We're Texas, you're going to have somebody who's going to have some rifles.
Yep.
You might have a shotgun, and you need to have them secured.
Yep.
You need to have them where someone, and doesn't really matter who, can't get a hold of them that you don't want.
Right.
State of Texas basically says your job is to secure your firearms from everyone except for you. Okay. And so how you go about doing that is on an individual basis. So here, just give you mine. Mm-hmm. When we're by ourselves, everything's out and unlocked. When anybody's coming over, everything gets put away and gets locked. And I have from a bedside safe that's lock and key, all the way to a big safe that's in my garage that's bolted to the ground, that has everything else in it that can be locked, but it's not going to be moved.
Sure.
You're not going to pick it up and take it away.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then I have an office in my house where, because I do so much work, I have an office in my house where I have a lot of stuff that's out and about in pieces and parts and things that are going on. So, being able to work with stuff like that, but still be able to control it.
Right. Right.
And when we're with a client, because we do, and this, but we do in-home firearms training. We actually have a laser training system where we can have somebody who wants to understand how to defend themselves with a firearm. Mm-hmm. We can go to their house and have them move through their house with a firearm and be able to handle a firearm. So we actually take them from, where are you going to keep this pistol that you're going to use for home defense? Mm-hmm. And you're going to get it out, and then you're going to move through your house to defend your house. And we're going to set up laser targets. And the pistol actually has it's CO2 and it has recoil.
Okay.
So it feels like a pistol. It has recoil like a pistol, and we can stage targets along the way that they have to be able to turn off using the laser.
Yeah.
So as realistic as possible to get somebody to go from bed to their pistol to their doors to turn targets off. So they're actually role playing, clearing their house and moving through their house. And then it gives them an idea of, if they have kids at home, how to have conversations with the kids.
Right.
Because then they're moving through the house with a firearm.
Yeah.
So you can take very basic and make it very complicated to give somebody real world training.
Yeah.
With the tools that are available today.
I like that. That's cool. I mean, the most fun I had in training in the military and police was just disseminations training, going around, because it's real.
It is.
And so now I'm thinking, like, I'm going to take my boys. We're going to have G.I. Joe night tonight. We're going to clear the house.
Well, and here's the thing. I have a piece about my children. If they are ever around someone or somewhere where there's a weapon present, that they understand how to be safe, and they understand if someone else is not being safe, how to remove themselves from that situation.
Oh, okay. Good.
Because we've had conversations about it, because the one of the things that people have problems with is when someone brings out a weapon, they don't know what to do, because no one's ever talked to them about it.
Yeah.
And so understanding how to be safe is important, because the weapon itself is an inanimate object. It's the person who's handling the weapon who's going to be the problem. And if they're not safe and they're not doing safe things, understanding. So one of the things that, as our kids got older, we had a way that they could text us if they were out and somebody was doing something that made them uncomfortable, to where we could be the bad guy and say they had to leave. Something was going on, where they didn't lose face with their friends.
Exactly.
Because we wouldn't want them to be in a situation where they would get in trouble.
Yeah, I like that.
So
I'm writing that one down.
Yeah, because yours are getting close to that age.
Yeah, my oldest, I mean, he's had a phone for a couple of years now. He's not one to go hang out with friends and stuff, but there's going to be a time when he does, right?
There will be.
And I want him to feel comfortable of, like, I don't feel comfortable, because I've been through that when I was younger, going through that stage, like, I'm here at this party, I'm not feeling very comfortable, but I don't want to leave. And to give him that way out, like you said, to save face, I think it's perfect.
Well, and it's completely, they were all completely separate between our kids with what was going to be said.
Okay.
To where it made sense.
Yeah.
But here's an example of what you're talking about. My son is 23. He was in a wedding, went to a bachelor party, and part of the bachelor party, they went to a shooting range.
Okay.
And he was like, "Dad, I'm, so glad that I knew how to do this, and I felt comfortable, because a couple of the guys didn't."
Yeah.
And they had to somebody had to have conversations with him about safety.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was so happy.
Yeah.
That he knew and he felt comfortable doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
So
that's great. That's great training. That is, I just, it's weird. Like, I've got the background. I've shot tons of guns. But I haven't invested the time in my kids on teaching them what I know. I just, like, in my mind, I'm thinking, that's what I used to do. I'm not that guy anymore. Right.
Right.
They just see me. Oh, Dad's on Zoom again. Right. But, I wish I had that growing up, and I should give that to them.
Yeah. I was very fortunate that I had an uncle. My father was not a hunter, was not a gun person, but I had an uncle who took me and my brother hunting, introduced us to, guns. And then, I've really, again, it wasn't what I was trying to do to make a living. That was kind of a sidebar, something I enjoyed doing.
Sure.
And I tell people all the time, I'm very fortunate. I get to love what I do and get paid to do what I love.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And I totally get it. Cause then you don't feel like you're being someone else. You're being authentic. You get to make a living being who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great. I love it. All right, cool. We covered a lot today. We covered general safety. We covered deterring intruders, what happens if they were to come in, how to keep your weapons safe. What services does Silverback provide, both in the classroom and personal settings?
Okay. So, easiest way, we do individual training. That's one-on-one. Mm-hmm. We do family training. That's your immediate family. We do group training, any type of groups, and we do corporate training.
Okay.
So that can be small corporation, large corporation, Fortune 500. We've trained the corporate staff for the Houston Astros.
Wow, cool.
Can be anything in between. We do hand-to-hand training. We do firearms, and then we have non-lethal trainings for people who don't want to carry a firearm.
Okay.
But when we do private training, I always tell people, think of it like a personal trainer you would hire at a gym. It's in sessions. They're hour-long sessions.
Okay.
And people hire us, for 6 hours, 12 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours, to do sessions with either individually or as a family.
Okay.
But the thing that makes us different is everything's customized. Okay. So I try to tell people we are what we call outcome-based training versus curriculum-based training.
Interesting.
So the easiest way is if you went to a traditional martial arts school, most traditional martial arts school have a curriculum they're going to follow.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
White belt to black belt.
Right.
But let's just say hypothetically you wanted to know how to get out of a choke. Well, you're not going to learn that in the curriculum for 6 months to 2 years because that's where it falls in the curriculum.
Right.
But your child's getting choked.
Yeah.
And they're getting choked at school and they need to know how to deal with getting choked.
Yeah.
But they're not going to learn that at white belt. Right. They're not going to learn that at green belt. Right. They might learn it at blue belt.
Sure.
For us, if you have a problem and something's happening and you call us and say, hey, this is what's happening, that's what we're going to cover.
Okay, cool.
And we're going to spend time and we're going to camp on that till that person or the situation is comfortable. Mm-hmm. And the outcome that we want to have is that person's going to be able to deal with that problem.
Excellent.
Same thing with firearms. You and me shooting is going to be completely different than somebody who's never shot a pistol before.
Right.
We're going to have a completely different class. We're going to do a completely different program, mm-hmm. and everything. We have 5 levels of pistol training.
Okay.
From pistol in a box to defend your holster.
Oh,
and
wow.
We're not going to start somebody at defend your holster because they don't know how to shoot a pistol.
Yeah. Right.
So everything is customized. And
that's cool. I like
that's what makes us different than the guy down the street who, and I teach traditional martial arts, but I teach traditional martial arts different than I teach custom self-defense.
Yeah.
So
do you go through any kind of training where you spray them with OC spray and then they have to defend their holster from there?
We have never had someone request that.
I've done that before and it is not fun.
No. Yeah. I have yet to have someone volunteer to be sprayed.
Yeah, I can't say I volunteered for that.
You didn't. Very, very few people are ever going to volunteer to be stunned, or very few people are ever going to volunteer to be sprayed. Now, obviously, for your job, you want to know, how to do something under duress. Mm-hmm. And if you've never, again, it always goes back to if you've never done it before, you're not going to do it well. Exactly.
So, we used to train. This is in the police academy in Hawaii where we were going through the whole OC spray stuff. And after we had gotten sprayed, we had to go through this whole course where we had to defend our holster and a bunch of other stuff. But then, during that same week, we were doing jiu-jitsu. And as we were fighting, he's spraying OC spray in the air, and we got like snot all over each other, but we're still having to fight and stuff. Hawaii's got some pretty intense training out there. It was some good training.
Well, and so when we're doing defend your holster, you're starting off with a blue gun in your holster, and the person's it's somebody who's trained who's gonna try to take it away from you.
Exactly.
You need to know what to do if someone's really trying to take your weapon.
Yep.
And then we start off with we start off back to back with a weapon in between people. And the first person that gets the weapon, wow. The other person has to get control of it, or you're going to have contact, and you had gotten shot.
That's fun.
Yeah, and it's a different world.
Maybe I'm in the wrong business. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. So yeah. But it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it, and I could tell that you enjoy it too, just because it just comes out of you. Like it's your passion, and it's nice to see. Not everyone gets to live that life where they get to do what they love doing. Okay, so you have those services, and are you still looking for franchisees? I'm saying it only because people in my network, they're either military, law enforcement, they're retiring, moving on to something else.
Yep. And we honestly, we have a franchise option, but we also have an option where if they don't want to own a franchise, but they want to learn how to do what we do, we will coach them.
Oh, okay. Cool.
on how to do what we do. One of the things that I've kind of delved into is becoming a little bit more of a coach where they have a couple of different options.
Okay.
If they want to do something, let's call it a side hustle.
Sure. Yeah.
But they like what I do and they want to do it. And we'll teach them how to do it. We have a system. We can show them how to do what we do, and then they can do as much or as little of it as they want. But, we would love, my goal is we want to have somebody teaching self-defense that wants to teach self-defense in a mobile aspect anywhere they want. Okay.
That's cool. So, yeah. I like that. And that's for cops or military. That's an easy side hustle because you live that, and you can tell stories to back up the training, right?
Right.
And that's really important.
It's finding the right person who wants to spend time pouring into people.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, yeah.
That's great. For those in the Cypress, Houston area, how can they learn more about Silverback? How can they get in touch with you and sign up and all that stuff?
Yeah. So easiest way is our website. It's silverback-selfdefense.com. My number is 713-894-6105. We're on pretty much every social media platform. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. Still fighting not being on TikTok, but I'm not dancing.
That's funny.
But it's pretty easy in this area to find us. And we have we have trainers from Montgomery County all the way down to South Houston.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good. So
no matter where they are, we'll have somebody who can train them.
Okay. Fantastic. And we'll have the your website, phone number, and stuff in linked up into the YouTube descriptions. And let's see here. I know this was, for the audience, this is not my traditional construction related topic. However, it is something that I'm very, passion's a strong word, but I am passionate about it. I care about safety and security, not just for myself, but for everyone. We all need to be safe and secure. We need to be protected from those who are up to no good and want to do some harm in the world. And why not use this platform to help people protect themselves, or to think about it at least, and start asking the questions and maybe seek out professionals like Robert to help them out protecting their selves and their family. So,
well, yeah, and I agree because, when you look statistically, Houston is definitely a big city, and it's not safe, and there's a lot of crime. And again, I go back to when you look at the home as being the number one place, people need to think about it. And my big thing always is have a plan.
Yeah.
Have a blueprint. Like it's an acronym for your world. You can't have a blueprint. You can't build a house without a blueprint.
Right. Exactly.
You can't know how to defend yourself without a blueprint, without a plan.
Yep.
So
Exactly.
I appreciate you having me on. I know it's not the same. You're not talking about building and mortgages and loans and stuff like that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I think there's a lot of synergy in it just from construction and home security. It's just my background, and why not talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's great, but don't leave just yet, Robert. But for the audience, thanks for watching. Appreciate taking the time to listen to us talk about safety and security, learn a little bit about Robert and Silverback. Please subscribe to this on YouTube and Apple Podcasts or whatever you listen to, and share it with a friend, especially those who might be asking those questions like, hey, what can I do to protect myself? This is a good episode. Robert's a great resource, and reach out to him. Thanks again, and we'll be up on the next one.